This episode is brought to you by Mortgage Workflow Partners and the Mastering Encompass series, both for users as well as administrators. You can find out all the information about it over at masteringencompass.com. Also, if you'd like to check out what we're doing on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel using the @MasteringEncompass handle. And make sure you stay up to date on all the information, not just with podcasts, but also video content that we bring to you as often as possible. Now let's get on to the episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another week. We are here as a group trying to master the Encompass platform. I'm going to take these off for a moment until I have to actually read. My name is Larry Bailey. I'm your host for the day. Congratulations and thank you for coming. We are going to go ahead and let some people roll in today. I am super excited. We've got about 50 folks that are across the country. I thought it would be kind of cool to actually share the screen here. Let me share kind of where everybody is. So this is the Google Analytics page here, and it kind of just shows where we all are, that kind of a thing. And so we're across the country, which I think is pretty cool. So today's all about, let's go ahead and keep letting people in. Today's all about what's going on in Encompass 24.3. There's four big parts of the release. So if you're one of these little bubbles out here, thanks very much for showing up. For those of you just rolling in, I was just showing on screen with Google Live, Google Analytics Live. Let's kind of show you where things are. So we'll come back. We'll come back to some screen stuff here in a moment. For everybody else joining, first of all, great to be back. My voice is mostly back, Chris. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Getting sick is no joke. And fortunately, I was healthy enough to stay working because, you know, who wants to take a day off of work? But my voice suffered the most. So in any event, while I was busy taking care of myself, ICE was busy deploying. It's got to be one of the most comprehensive releases I can remember. If you guys can think of a bigger release, you tell me what it was. And the truth of it is, at least here in our community, what we didn't see are a ton of errant errors. And so, you know, I think this just goes to show one more time that ICE is a little bit different from, you know, maybe a long time ago when we were all really struggling to make sure that these releases came out. I know I was always one of the ones that was most vocal, like, is anybody testing these things? And the reality is we got a really great release. So for those that are just joining in, Alex says, thanks for everything last week. Got my first scheduler set up. Yes. In web, firing notifications off, working on auto sending HELOC disclosures. Alex, that's truly awesome. Congratulations. For those that want to learn from Alex, if you don't mind sharing, others, one of the things that I'm going to be promoting here for the community are the some of the changes that I'm going to be making to make sure that everybody can readily access things like rules. The mortgage community has been great. It's served us well. Look for some announcements about a brand new community that is going to be focused just on Encompass. Mastering Encompass, if you go to that website now, for those, by the way, has anybody been taking advantage of the Encompass, the Mastering Encompass AI helper? So if you go to masteringencompass.com, you can check out the AI helper. Sarah's been using it. Any feedback, Sarah? Has been helping? Is it a waste of time? Like, you know, I really wanted to make sure that it provided some level of value. I've got bigger plans for the closed AI engine for focusing on things like disclosures and some other private use cases. But if you've been using the AI helper, that's great. And Sarah, do you have your hand raised because you have a question that you want to ask, or you're just letting everybody know you're using the AI helper? Okay, cool. So having said all that, I just want you to know that one of the things that's coming down the pipeline for the community is a new experience for the community. It's going to be a little bit more user friendly. It's going to be actually able to support native code blocks, native attachments for things like input forms, business rules. things that I think we can really use, especially when we get into JSON files with Encompass Web. I think this is all stuff that we can actively share if your company permits it. But I know I can share these things, so I want to go ahead and do that. Also coming up next year is going to be workshops. One of the things that I'm working closely with ICE on every week is discovering ways to take what we're given in these releases and really turn them into action plans. So if you're attending the ICE Mortgage Technology Show in March, show of hands, anybody going? I'll be there. We're in booth 14. And you're all invited to join us on the wrap-up event. I am charging this year for the very first time for two main reasons. Number one, I want to make sure that you're putting your dollars to good use. And we're actually trying to keep it in the casino. Last time I did this, which was 2 years ago, that bill was 12 grand. I don't, it's not like I don't mind spending money, but, I'm trying to make sure that we can all have a great event. And so it's a room of 50. If you sign up in December, it's $500 for the full day, including food and drinks and everything. And most importantly, engagement. And so my point of doing this after the experience is to take all the conversations that we've all talked about and actually turn them into action plans. It's what kind of drinks, whatever kind of drinks you want, Luba, we'll get you drinked up there. And so Luba, thanks for putting the link for the wrap-up show in there. Candace, that's where it is. Anyway, the whole point of this is every day we're working with clients and on everything that's involved with Mortgage Workflow Partners, and we're making sure that you're actually understanding how to take the next steps. All right, just like we said, just like we heard from Alex in the chat earlier, the idea that you have the knowledge to do something, you have the example to follow, and then you can do it yourself is everything. So that's what these workshops are all about that we're promoting for next year. But at the wrap-up event, which is on March 13th, that's actually where we'll be taking a lot of these things in a full day, full contact sport interaction. Bring your laptops. We're going to go through and build things, make sure you understand what you're doing. I'm also going to be sharing a lot of concepts that I want to make sure you understand things of how to get things to work properly and how to talk to your business in specific ways to get things to move forward. In today's admin mastering class, we talked a lot about the idea of discovering opportunities to move your business forward, only to find out that the business is making decisions kind of around you or without you as admins, which is challenging, right? It's tough when the business comes to you and says, here, do this. And you're like, yeah, but what about all this other stuff? And how is that going to affect things? And the business is like, yeah, it's kind of your job to figure it out. My attitude is always, you're all admins, you're all extraordinarily talented in what you do. And one of the things that I advocate for you to really take charge of in 2025 is to really understand how you can move your companies forward, to really take that next step. And so that's what this wrap up is all about. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in there so you get it. It did change recently on the link because it's actually, I'm kind of giving you a look. So I'll go ahead and put this in chat right now for those that are trying to get to the wrap-up event. Luba, the link's in there, it's in there. And so again, we're kind of using a subdomain for app.masteringEncompass for right now until we go live in the beginning of the year with the full site and the full community. All right. Who did not move to 24.3? There are some people that opted out of 24.3. One of our clients is actually one of them because they've got a custom front end on their TPO channel, so they opted out to wait for 2 weeks. And so it looks like everybody opted in. So let's talk about 4 parts of the changes. First of all, desktop. What's your favorite feature of desktop updates? Right? And don't tell me it's ULDD because I won't believe you. Although maybe it is, who knows? But my favorite part is actually opening Encompass Web. And I'm sure everybody just cringed, right? You're like, I don't want people to open up Encompass Web. The reason why that's my favorite feature of desktop in this release is because it forces the conversation with the business to be like, hey, we got to talk about Encompass Web. And so Amy likes Underwriting Center for dual AUS. That's technically Encompass Web, Amy Blum. Lisa says, I don't want them to open up. They can open up the web. And here's the thing, though. Remember that with Encompass Web settings, you can define what they can see based upon your channel, right? And so you can define what they see on the left. You can turn everything off. So for you, Lisa, when you're saying I don't want them to know they could open in web, I actually would take the counter to that debate and say I do want them to open it because I want them to understand what they're missing. So Amy's giving me feedback here that it starts in Smart Client that makes it desktop. No, Amy, if it goes to the internet, that's called the web, Amy. Anyway, where I'm going with you is the reason why I talk about it like this is because there's lots of folks that think Encompass Web is the UI for the web, right? And what I use is when the business is like, no, we're not ready for the web. And what I want you guys to give me some feedback here on chat or show of hands, or if anybody wants to talk about it, I'll unmute your mic if you want to talk. But this concept, remember, Encompass Web has two components. One is Encompass Web Settings. The other is Encompass Web Forms. So when I talk to clients and I talk to businesses about Encompass Web, I really differentiate. So many people misunderstand that Encompass Web is not just one thing. Encompass Web settings should be used in your business today, right now. So hopefully everybody's doing that. And earlier in the chats, we saw a scheduler was created and notifications were being used. For those that have IT teams that cringe every time you say SMTP, this is what you want to use notification templates for. Now, keep in mind there is a gap, right? We can't send notifications to borrowers yet, but the idea is that you can leverage notification templates from Encompass Web settings to be fired from desktop experiences. That you should be doing. Everybody should be looking at your notice of incomplete action workflow because you can use a scheduler to define that, right? And these are all things that I know I've covered in other ideas. And the idea is I want you to make sure you're exploring not just Encompass Web as a one construct, as a singular monolithic construct, but it's two: web settings and web UI. All right. So we talked about desktop. Let's talk about Encompass Web because we led there. So Amy likes running dual AUS. One of the things that I was really hopeful for, and this is a good example of why I kind of hold things back in terms of my enthusiasm until I see what's delivered, is the whole option of DO. Now, I did get confirmation earlier, and I meant to post this in the community, and I've just run out of time, but I did confirm with ICE's developers directly that you can run dual AUS on web with a soft pull. That works now. It's fully supported. So if you've been holding back or you've been waiting for this kind of a thing, you can do that if you want to run dual AUS with soft pulls. As far as conventional LUBA, so what we're talking about is DO and, sorry, I don't know why I just said that, DU and LPA. So in terms of conventional, I don't know. I haven't tested out or had anybody test out FHA through DU with a soft pull. I couldn't tell you that. So it could be conventional. I don't have any guidance on that, but the big change was that you can run soft pulls now with a dual run on the web. So that was a good thing. Some other things that are happening on the web, does anybody else have any good takeaways, any things that they were like super stoked about coming to the web? So the credit company, yeah, so Luba's comment there where the credit company said soft pulls for DU conventional only, that could be confined to your credit vendor, Luba. I don't know if that's really a platform piece, but when I did talk to the developer through email, they confirmed that there was only one credit provider. I think it was called People's Credit or something with a P. That was the only credit vendor that wasn't completely configured, which obviously feels like it's on them. So I would check with your credit company, making sure where they stand on the soft pulls, that their codes are being transmitted for reissue through the AOS through Dual. Is anyone using tasks yet? Question out to the community. Workflow tasks are one of the biggest opportunities within a web UI without having to use Encompass Web, because obviously we've got task pipelines. So one of the bigger challenges, of course, is to move your company out of Outlook. And so when you're thinking about this opportunity, what I want you to do is go to your post-closing team. Post-closing team is so easy to use as a test case, as a use case, and a live example, because all they do is chase things. And so this idea, rather than working off the Excel sheet that they're working on, or whatever they're doing, putting reminders in Outlook, I've seen, handwritten sheets, I've seen, create workflow tasks. And so you can either do this off of action. So when the loan gets sold or delivered or a certain milestone gets finished, create a workflow task. And if it's a final title, create the workspace, the task workspace. One of the changes that also happened in web is the way that they broke down task groups. Has anyone seen this yet? Is anyone watching this in terms of how it works? Does anybody want me to show you? And so it's really important to understand that there was a change to it. So Carrie wants to see it. So we will go ahead and appease Carrie, because you don't want to make Carrie upset. I'm kidding. Sorry, Carrie, I don't mean to pick on you. So the way things are changing, of course, is that with task groups, you can go through and now create as many different task groups as you want. So let me go ahead and share that. So we're in Encompass Web, and we want to come over to Workflow Management. We want to go to Task Templates. And so I don't know if you remember on Friday, but this looked like you had task groups and you had standalone tasks. Poof, you now just have tasks. And so when we go in here, if we wanted to go into this particular task, if we go ahead and edit this, you'll see now you have task groups here. Okay. And so what you can do is consider it to be a characteristic of the task. And can you put them in more than one task group? The answer is no. So you're not completely free to leverage out in that. If you wanted to add another group in here, you can add it within the task. It's a little bit weird of a UI, but if I wanted to create test for community, click save, added. So again, I'd come down into test for community. Okay, I still can't add more than one. So what it does for me, if I add that in there, go to the bottom, click save. So now if I come over here, again, within here, I'm looking at task IDs, like with template IDs, and then we have our task groups here. So if you had any task groups created before, it's not obliterated, it's still there, but you just can't create groups from outside the UI. You have to make sure you go into it in here and do it. All right, so what does it do? Well, who wants to tell Luba? I'll tell her. So when we come in, if we want a result, we can come over here, and now we can come over here, and now we can create, we can add tasks by group or complete tasks by group, Luba. That's what you can do. So rather than come in, right, let's say I want to do create task by group. So now you come over and add, thank you. So now you can come over and pick which group you want to go in there. Notice the UI kind of feels like the old thing, like you've picked this and it picks it. So the UI is not completely gone, and you can add multiple groups in here. Right, so there's the multiple groups added. You can also remember you can add 5 resulting actions. So if you wanted to come over here and add a resulting action of just adding a specific task, you can do that too. But notice it's the same UI. So the great news about this is you don't have to have unique UIs in the task templates. It's all one big thing. You can see clearly if you have any subtasks in that column. As a reminder, this little lookup UI is now becoming more and more prominent across the entire Connect platform. For those that are using TPO Connect, which we'll get to before the meeting's over, as an awakening surprise, you got a new UI login for those that use TPO Connect. So that's just a commonality between all the Connect platforms. Everybody good? Any questions on that besides Luba? Candace says, hope to have that on next year so we can concentrate on the web stuff. I'm a convert 2 years ago. Here's what I would do to prep. So to Candace's point, it's something that we're planning for next year. In prep for that planning, I know you probably can't do this from your like Outlook admin kind of a thing, but what you can do is ask your processors or ask your loan officers or loan officer assistants, ask them how often they use Outlook to remind them of things or to track things. And, when I gave you this example, I used post-closing because it's easy to spot, but you can pick little tiny pilot groups to start thinking about tasks. So instead of them creating whatever it is that they're doing, they can go create a task within the file. And in case you haven't seen this, you can come up to your task pipeline and you can show them all the stuff that they haven't done. And so this was also a new ad for web. This is very helpful. So you can click that little icon right there, and that copies this loan number. So then you can paste it in your desktop. You can also update the status here. And these statuses, of course, are configurable in the settings. So if I want to call that completed, boom, done. Of course, everything else stays the same, right? So you can edit the priority, you can edit the status, you can update the comments, and now you can copy the loan number in case you want to go paste that right into desktop. Super cool stuff. All right. I don't see any comments, so we'll keep on trucking. Next one on the agenda, I'm going to talk about Consumer Connect. All right, show of hands, please. There's about 41 people besides me on here. Who's using Consumer Connect for their daily driver? All right, so we've got 4 people, 5 people, and counting. Daily driver means, Carrie, are you using it in your workflow? I should have been more clear, sorry. Who's using it in their workflow to send and receive documents from your borrowers? And obviously, if you're using TPO Connect, that includes you, and that kind of a thing. So the release notes that came out for Consumer Connect, come on, we got a mobile app, gang. Everybody's been asking for a mobile app since forever, right? That's the reason why you went to SimpleNexus in the past. Now it's here. Who's going to use it? I know I am. So just as a reminder, talk to your sales rep or your account rep or whatever they said. Send them an email, send them a request, ask them for it, but you're also going to want to turn on the loan application customization tool. So just so you know, I got this requested. It took a few days, but they're going to send you back a PSO engagement. At least for me, it was 0. I'm hoping that it's 0 for everyone, but make the request to get it confirmed. And what this is going to do is add this SKU on your contract so they know what it is. So Candace asked, so why do we need another app when it's web responsive? I never quite got that. Candace, because you don't get it. Everybody wants a native app. It's the whole reason why SimpleNexus got to be where they are. The reality is some borrowers, let's face it, more borrowers than not have problems logging in on their mobile phone. It's a better security tool because it does authenticate through the app store to that piece. So it does offer. The reality is it's a way for you to say that your company now has a native app for your disclosures on the Play Store and on the Apple Store. So Angie asks, do we have to be on the web to use mobile app with Consumer Connect? No, you don't. This is completely mutually exclusive of Encompass Web. Chris, my voice is going, by the way. It's your fault for jinxing me. So Angie, so no, you don't have to do that. This is instead of sending your borrowers to your website, you can just send them to their mobile app. So if you haven't done it yet, you can download it right now. It's not going to work, but you guys can see this right next to my blue sky. There it is. See that little blue icon with the house? You can see I play Words with Friends. I haven't played that in a long time though. Anyway, the brilliance of this is that you get to go and create all of your unique workflows, just like you always could with Consumer Connect. So Angie, yes, it uses your current app workflows. It's tied to your Consumer Connect site ID. So with one app, one company can have theoretically dozens of different workflows. So if you've got a consumer direct workflow or a builder workflow or a realtor workflow or a branch workflow, whatever, each one of those parties has a 10-digit unique Consumer Connect ID, right? And the Consumer Connect ID is what drives the experience behind that login for your borrowers. In the loan application customization tool, this guy, I don't know if you can see it really clearly, but if you know anything about this kind of web development, this is going to, in my opinion, bring the Consumer Connect right up to the same place as you guessed it, Encompass Web. And so now you can completely customize, including custom fields, custom text fields for your application. We can finally do everything that we've been asking for within Consumer Connect. Gang, I see this as probably the largest impact of Consumer Connect since it was launched, personally. And that's because I can take this and I can make this thing dance for anyone, any company, any workflow, everywhere. And because I can marry it with a native app, and the native app is specific to the Consumer Connect site ID, I can put a QR code. So when you launch this puppy, one of the things you give your borrowers is the ability to scan a QR code. You can put a QR code anywhere you want, and the workflow experience they get behind that login is exactly what you want them to get. There's no cost, John, other than being an Encompass client. In the App Store, it's actually called Loan. If you look up, sorry, that's really bad. Where the hell is 16? It's called My Home Loans. So you can look that up. It's in the map. It's called the My Home Loans mobile app. Like I said, it looks like that blue square with just a regular white house on it. That's all it is. It's in the Apple Store. It's in the Google Play Store now. But remember, you're not gonna be able to turn it on until you get your flag turned on for your Encompass instance. When you get your Encompass instance turned on, that's gonna then allow you to put in whatever 10-digit Consumer Connect code you have. I can't wait to use it. Like, I'm gonna do a whole public thing. You know me, I like to talk on video. I think it's a big deal. Customization tool. No, what you read, John, was the loan application customization tool requires a PSO engagement. I've been told that, well, I'm going to say it clearly. I don't know if there's a final cost ultimately at some point in the future. I can tell you that I've been told there's no cost. Ask for it. It'll be part of your engagement. I got it set up for my, my Encompass instance, 0 cost. I'm a partner, but they charge me just like they charge you. So it's nothing special like that. Okay. All right. Last thing is TPO Connect. You got it, John, anytime. TPO Connect, let me know if you hear differently, right? If you hear ICE is charging you, like, let everybody know what the circumstances are so we can all be aware, please. Thank you, John. Last one is TPO Connect, and obviously TPO Connect, if you're using it, fantastic. By the way, if anybody ever needs any help with TPO Connect, let me know. We helped a lot of clients this year really get their TPO Connects humming along with workflow. Also initiate the broker side self-disclosing as well as automated initial disclosures. So Candace says, if you want ICE to help you set up your Consumer Connect, then yes, there's an extra cost. Guys, if you need help setting up your Consumer Connect, we could set up a workshop here in the community. I mean, you got to learn how to do it. You just can't pay ICE. You got to learn how to do it. It's not a big deal. Anyway, TPO Connect, the big changes on there, obviously, if you're using this, there's only 41 pages of updates. The big thing is making sure you understand how the status tracker works and also the configurable workflow. So if anybody's using status tracker and or the configurable workflow, there's a change to the UI, pay attention to that. Also, of course, the biggest change is the login screen. If you go to your TPO sites, yours or your, who you sell loans to, when you go to log in, there's an extra method to logging in. This is very important because what ICE called out in the release notes was an SSO change. And so the login link now goes into an SSO change. Let's see if I can get this on screen real quick. There, this guy. This is actually, if you read this, this is actually affecting everybody. It's not just SSO. It's actually dealing with the third-party cross-site tracking. I didn't realize this, but it's actually being deprecated from the internet. Third-party cross-site tracking apparently is a DOA thing, dead on arrival at this point. So these changes are affecting TPO Connect now. This is also very similar to what you get with a Consumer Connect widget site. So I think there's more to come on this. We'll see how it goes with the internet and with ICE. But those are the big changes for TPO Connect. Before we pass, the login screen was a great Easter egg stocking stuffer for us, Amy. You're supposed to make a certain emoji with that, Amy. Anyway, I can't thank you guys enough. I'll keep you updated with what's going on with the community, and obviously, thanks everybody for tuning in. And I think today's actually our biggest one yet. 42 people showed up, so thank you. Keep in touch with the community. There's been a lot of great conversations going on, so keep it up, and I'll keep everything running. You guys be well. Thanks for today. Get back to work already. Stop listening to me so much. All right, gang. Let me know how I can help you out. We'll see you. Bye-bye.